I grew up thinking my dad just didn't care about holidays, especially St. Nicholas Day. Other kids at school showed off candy-filled boots, chocolate coins, and little notes from St. Nick. Meanwhile, I'd wake up to nothing. Not even a cheap dollar store candy cane. When I asked Dad why St. Nicholas never visited our house, he'd say the same thing every year. He must have skipped us by accident. I'll remind him next time. But he never did. Eventually, I stopped believing in the whole thing. I stopped asking, and honestly, I stopped expecting anything from him at all. It was just easier, but this year, now that I'm 22 and living on my own, my dad did something he never does. He showed up at my apartment unannounced. It was late, like almost midnight all late. He looked exhausted, pale, and weirdly nervous. His hands were shaking when he handed me a small gift-wrapped box. He said, I didn't forget this year. I know you're too old for this crap, but it's something I should have done a long time ago. I just stared at him. It was so unlike him that I didn't even know what to say. Then he added something that still sends chills down my spine. If anything happens, don't open the door for him. You hear me? Don't open the door. I asked him who he meant, and he said, St. Nicholas. I laughed at first. I thought he was joking, but he grabbed my arm tight and looked me dead in the eyes. I'm serious. If he came to the wrong house before, he might come again. Before I could ask what he meant, he practically ran down the hall and left. I stood there alone, holding a gift from a man who never gave me presents and who just warned me about a freaking Christmas saint like he was some kind of serial killer. When I finally opened the box, expecting maybe candy or a mug or something stupid, it wasn't any of that. It was a crumpled yellowing envelope. My childhood address was written on the front, except it wasn't quite my address. One single number was off, just one. The return address, also my childhood street, but again, one number off. And inside the envelope was a Polaroid picture, a picture of me, sleeping, when I was maybe 5 years old. But here's the thing, that photo couldn't have been taken in our house. It was a different room, different wallpaper, a bed I'd never seen in my life. And on the back, in shaky handwriting, it said, for the one he missed. That's when I realized my dad hadn't forgotten St. Nicholas all those years. He was trying to protect me, and he hadn't always succeeded. I stared at that Polaroid until my hands went numb. The kid in the picture was definitely me. Same haircut, same dinosaur pajamas my mom bought before she left. But the room? I had never been there in my life. My brain kept looping the same question. Who took this photo? I thought of calling Dad, but the way he'd bolted from my apartment, something told me he wouldn't pick up. Instead, I typed the wrong address from the envelope into Google Maps. It was only 4 houses down from where we used to live. I passed it every day walking to school as a kid. But here's the thing. I don't remember anyone ever living there. Not a single person. No kids, no cars, no lights. Just a peeling brown shingled house with boarded windows and a mailbox that looked like it hadn't been opened since the 90s. But when the street view loaded, the house looked different. Not abandoned, not boarded up. Actually, it looked lived in. Curtains in the windows, a wreath on the door, and a plastic St. Nicholas figure on the porch. The old-fashioned kind that lights up at night. A fresh photo. Taken maybe weeks ago. That made no sense. The house had been empty my whole childhood. I zoomed in, trying to see more, and that's when I saw something that made my stomach twist. In the window, behind the curtain, there was a silhouette, a tall figure, shoulders hunched, facing directly toward the camera, like he'd been watching the Google car go by and the shape of his hat. It was pointed. I closed the laptop so fast it nearly snapped. I tried calling Dad again, but he still didn't answer, so I texted him. Me. Dad, I opened the box. We need to talk. Dad. You opened it? Me. Yes. What is this? What's going on? Dad. Don't go near that house. Don't talk to anyone who knocks tonight. Promise me. Me. Why? Who took that picture of me? Dad. I can't explain right now. I'm sorry. Just stay inside. Please. That last word, please. I don't think I'd ever seen him write that in my life. He always acted tough, even when he shouldn't. Seeing him scared, that terrified me more than the photo. I locked my door. I checked the peephole, I closed all the blinds, and for hours I just sat there replaying my childhood memories, trying to figure out how someone could have photographed me without me remembering ever being in that house. Around 3:17 a.m., I finally started to relax. I felt stupid for letting a creepy picture mess with my head. I mean, it had to be fake, a prank, a misunderstanding, right? Then, a sharp, deliberate knock echoed through my apartment. Just one knock, not loud, not frantic, just patient. I froze. A second knock came, 2 quick taps, like someone signaling a rhythm, like someone who wasn't in a hurry. I tiptoed to the door and pressed my eye to the peephole, and my blood ran cold. There was a man standing outside, tall, thin, silent, wearing a long red coat, a coat trimmed with white fur, a coat that looked way too old, like something out of a 19th century painting, and on his head, a tall, pointed bishop's hat. He held a sack over one shoulder. Slowly, very slowly, he leaned toward my door. His voice was barely above a whisper when he spoke, but I heard him. Perfectly. "I believe your father has something that belongs to me." I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet. The voice from the hallway didn't sound threatening. It sounded disappointed, like a teacher finding out you cheated on a test, or a parent realizing you broke a promise. But the way he said, "your father," like he knew him personally, that made my skin crawl. I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. Another knock came, soft, calculated. "You have something for me," the man said. "Your father left it with you." I pressed my hand over my mouth, terrified that even the sound of my breathing would give me away. After a moment, the man sighed. A long, tired exhale. He always makes this difficult. I heard the fabric of his coat rustle as he shifted his weight. Then something slid under my door, a small piece of paper. I waited until his footsteps began to fade before I grabbed it. My hands were shaking so badly I almost tore it. On the paper, written in deep red ink, "Wrong child, wrong house, one is still owed." I didn't know what that meant. Wrong child? Owed? What? Before I could think about it more, my phone buzzed violently. Dad was calling. I answered immediately. My dad, panicked, breathless, terrified. "Did he come to your door?" "Dad, what the hell is going on? Who is that?" "Listen to me," he said. "Do not speak to him. Don't open the door. Don't let him see you." "He already saw me, Dad. He knew I was inside." There was silence. A long, heavy silence. When he spoke again, his voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, kiddo. I tried. I really tried." "Tried what?" "To keep him away from you." My chest tightened. "Dad, why did he have a photo of me sleeping in some stranger's house? Why was I even there? What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," he said quickly, too quickly. "Your mother, she didn't tell you the truth." "My mother? What does she have to do with this? She left, Dad." "She didn't leave." His breath hitched. "She traded." My heart felt like it stopped. "What do you mean, traded?" The line crackled. For a second I thought I'd lost the signal. Then Dad whispered, "She promised him something. And when she didn't give it to him, he came back." I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. "Dad, what did she promise him?" He didn't answer the question. Instead, he asked one of his own. "Did you open the gift I gave you?" "Yes." "And the picture? You saw the room?" "Yes." "That wasn't a stranger's house," he said. "What are you talking about? I've never been there." "You were just too young to remember," my dad said, voice trembling. "You were 4. Your mother moved you there for one night. Only one. I thought she was taking you to see her parents, but she wasn't." I felt sick. Why would she take me there? Dad swallowed hard. "To hide you, to pay her debt." My voice cracked. "Dad!" "What debt?" He exhaled shakily, like the truth physically hurt him. "She owed St. Nicholas a child." I felt the room tilt around me. "A child?" I whispered. "Dad, what the hell does that even mean?" He didn't answer right away. I could hear him breathing, ragged, uneven, like he was running or hiding, or both. Finally, he said, "Your mother, she grew up in a very old family. Old traditions, old rituals, things I didn't believe in until it was too late." "What kind of rituals?" "Her family didn't celebrate Christmas like normal people. They followed the old European customs, the real ones. The ones about St. Nicholas as a judge, not a saint. The one who visits at night to take the children who aren't protected." I felt cold all over. "She told me it was just stories," Dad continued, "until she got pregnant." I sat down without realizing it, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles hurt. "What happened when she got pregnant?" "She panicked," he said. "She told me her family made a deal generations ago, a deal to protect them from something worse, something they called the Winter Huntsman. So instead, every few decades, St. Nicholas would come for one child, just one, to keep the balance." "That's insane," I said, but my voice didn't sound like mine. "I thought so too," he said, "until the night you were born." "Dad." "I saw him," my father whispered. "I saw him standing outside the hospital window. He wasn't a hallucination. He wasn't a man in a costume. He was waiting." I covered my mouth, trying not to make a sound. "Your mother begged him," Dad said. "Begged for time. She said she wasn't ready to give you up. She promised him she would offer a different child instead, one that wasn't hers." My stomach twisted so violently I thought I would throw up. "And she did?" Dad whispered. "What?" My voice cracked. "Dad, what?" "She took you," he said, choking on the words. "When you were 4, she took you to that other house, the wrong house. She thought St. Nicholas would take a different child, the kid who actually lived there. She brought you as a decoy. She thought he wouldn't know the difference." My spine felt like ice. "You mean she tried to trade me?" I whispered. "She tried to let him take another kid instead of me?" Dad didn't respond, because there was nothing he could say. I felt tears burn in my eyes, not sadness, not fear, just betrayal. "All these years," I said. "All these years I thought she left because she didn't want us. She left because she failed," Dad said. "St. Nicholas didn't take the other child. He took one look at you and knew exactly who you were. She ran with you before he could get inside. I didn't believe a word of it until I found you on the porch the next morning." I froze. "What do you mean, found me on the porch?" "You were lying there," he whispered, "asleep, with candy stuffed in your pockets and soot on your hands. And a note." My breath caught. "What note?" Dad hesitated. "It said, 'One day I will collect what is owed.'" A long silence fell over the line. Then Dad's voice hardened, low, tight, terrified. "He's back for you. He's not going to make the same mistake twice." A loud bang echoed through my apartment, not from the door this time, from the window. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the glass. I turned my head, and there, silhouetted against the thin curtain, was the same tall figure, St. Nicholas. His voice seeped through the window frame like cold air. "Wrong child, and time is up." I stumbled backwards so fast I knocked over a chair. The silhouette outside the window didn't move. It just waited, tall, still, patient, like it had all the time in the world. "Dad, he's at my window," I whispered into the phone. "What do I do?" "Get away from it," Dad said instantly. "Stay where he can't see your face." I ducked behind the kitchen counter, heart slamming so hard it hurt. "Dad, why now? Why is he suddenly coming for me after all these years?" "Because I interfered," he whispered. "I told him no. I told him he wasn't taking you. I've been paying for it ever since." "What does that even mean?" I hissed. "Paying how?" But Dad didn't get a chance to answer, because the window latch started to jiggle, softly, almost politely. I clamped a hand over my mouth. Then St. Nicholas spoke again, closer this time, like his mouth was pressed right against the glass. "A promise broken must be repaid." The latch shifted another inch. I flattened myself on the floor. "Dad," I whispered, "he's trying to get in." "No," Dad said. "He can't enter unless he's invited." "He knocked," I hissed. "I didn't open the door." "You don't have to," Dad whispered. "That's what makes him different. He doesn't come for people who invite him. He comes for those who were chosen." I felt sick. "And I was chosen," I said quietly. "You were the child your mother promised," he said. "I tried to protect you, but I can't keep him out forever. Not this time." The window latch slid fully open. I bit my fist to keep from screaming, but instead of climbing in, the silhouette simply stayed there, watching, waiting. "Dad," I whispered, "why did he slip that note under my door? What does wrong child mean?" Dad swallowed audibly through the phone. "It means he never got the right one." "The right child?" I whispered. "Me?" "No," Dad said. "Not anymore." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean, not anymore? That makes no sense." Dad inhaled shakily. "After your mother ran with you, after she failed to give him what she promised, St. Nicholas chose a different child." "A different what?" I felt dizzy. "Who?" "You wouldn't remember," Dad said. "But you weren't the only kid in that house the night she brought you there." I froze. "What are you talking about?" "That house? The wrong address. Your mother wasn't the only one who thought she could trick him. The family there made a deal too. They hid their own child and brought in others, your mother included." My pulse hammered in my ears. "Dad, are you saying there was another kid there that night?" "Yes," my father said. "A boy, about your age." "And what happened to him?" I whispered. Dad didn't answer, because someone else did. A voice came through the half-open window, the old soft whisper of the man outside. "He's been with me ever since." I felt my entire body go cold. My dad shouted through the phone, "Don't listen to him!" But St. Nicholas continued, ignoring him completely. "A child was given to me that night, not you. The boy whose parents tried to hide him." I pressed myself tighter to the floor. He kept talking, gentle, matter of fact. "But your mother stole you from me again. And again. And again." My breath hitched. "What do you mean again?" I whispered before I could stop myself. This time, Dad screamed, "Don't talk to him!" But St. Nicholas answered anyway, his voice dipping into something older, colder, heavier. "Because she took you even after the trade was sealed. Even after I placed my mark." My skin prickled. My stomach twisted. "What mark?" I whispered, and then, from outside the window, I heard the slow creak of leather gloves tightening around the sack he carried. "The one on your back." I froze completely. My hand flew to the back of my shirt, fingers trembling. A mark? On my back? No, that was impossible. But then, memories I hadn't thought about in years flickered back. The scar I always had since I was a kid. A small one, shaped almost like, no, not a scar, a brand. Dad's voice came through the phone, raw with panic. "Don't touch it. It makes him stronger when you touch it." And then I heard footsteps, not outside, inside my apartment. Because while I was hiding under the counter, while I was focused on the window, I forgot about the door, and it was open, wide open. The man in the red coat was standing in my hallway. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember dropping the phone. All I remember is the sound it made when it hit the tile. A tiny, fragile click that felt unreal compared to the heavy silence that followed. St. Nicholas stood at the far end of the hallway, not breaking in, not creeping. Just there. Like he had been standing there the whole time, and I had only just now noticed. His coat wasn't bright red like Santa's. It was a darker color. Deep, dried blood crimson. Heavy. Old, dusty around the seams. His boots were worn, like he had walked across miles of snow and gravel. But the worst part wasn't his clothes. It was his face. Or, rather, the lack of one. His face was obscured by shadow under the tall bishop's hat. I couldn't see eyes or a mouth, just the faint outline of features. And somehow, that was infinitely worse. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me, like he already owned me and was just waiting for me to realize it too. My voice came out in a whisper, cracked and dry. How did you get in?" He tilted his head in a slow, unnatural motion. "The door was never locked." That wasn't true. I had locked it. I was sure I locked it. But when I glanced at the deadbolt, I saw it, turned open. I backed into the kitchen, hands shaking violently. Stay away from me, I managed to choke out. I have no desire to harm you, he said calmly. I am only here to collect what is owed. I swallowed hard. I'm not owed to anyone. He took a single step forward. It echoed like thunder. You were promised. My mother had no right. She had every right, he interrupted. You were hers to give, and she gave you freely. My stomach twisted. No, I whispered. She ran. She tried to protect me. He chuckled softly, a sound like ice cracking on a frozen lake. No, she ran because she gave me the wrong child first, and I took him. My breathing hitched. The other boy, the one from the wrong address. What did you do to him? I whispered. St. Nicholas lifted the sack on his shoulder. It writhed, something inside shifting under the canvas, scratching, moving. He serves, St. Nicholas said simply. I nearly vomited. And now, he continued, it is time for you to serve. I stumbled backwards so fast I hit the cabinet behind me. No, no! My dad said you can't take me unless I invite you. St. Nicholas tilted his head again. Your father lies, not to protect you, but to protect himself. I froze. What does that mean? He stepped forward again, and the shadows around his face shifted, revealing the faint glint of something metallic inside his hood. Ask him about the child he gave me, not your mother. Him. I blinked. My throat tightened. What are you talking about? Another step. Another thunderous echo. Your father owed me long before you were born. The room felt like it was collapsing. He traded someone, St. Nicholas whispered, someone he was supposed to protect. And when I came to collect the second time, the child that was promised, he refused and ran. My chest felt like it was being squeezed. You're lying, I whispered. I do not lie, he said. Your father does, because if you knew who he truly was. The phone on the floor suddenly crackled to life. Dad's voice, broken, shaking, desperate, yelled through the speaker. Don't listen to him! Run! But St. Nicholas spoke over him, louder, colder. You would not run from me. You would run from him. Before I could react, before I could even breathe, St. Nicholas lifted a hand. I didn't see his face. I didn't see his eyes. But I felt something, a pull, like a hook under my ribs, dragging me toward him. I tried to fight it, to dig my nails into the counter, to scream. But all that came out was a strangled gasp. The world started to blur around the edges. My vision darkened. His voice wrapped around me like cold fingers. Come now, child, your dead is waiting. And then the lights went out. All at once. The last thing I heard was my dad's voice screaming my name through the phone. And then, nothing. I woke up choking on cold air, not the kind from winter, not the kind from a drafty apartment. This air felt old, like it hadn't been breathed by anyone in decades. I was lying on wooden floorboards, warped, splintered, and ice cold beneath me. The smell of dust and soot clung to everything. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. Then I heard it, a soft dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I pushed myself onto my elbows, blinking through the darkness. And that's when I realized I was inside that abandoned house from my childhood street. The wrong address, except it didn't look abandoned anymore. A faint golden glow flickered down the hallway, and shadows danced along the walls like they were moving on their own. My heart hammered, but the dragging sound kept getting closer. Dad? I whispered into the darkness. Something stepped into the light, but it wasn't St. Nicholas. It was a boy, maybe 8 or 9, barefoot, pale, eyes hollow and black around the edges like he hadn't slept in years. His clothes were old-fashioned, holiday clothes from a century ago, and his arms were wrapped around a large burlap sack, the same kind St. Nicholas carried, only smaller, only meant for him. He looked at me with a kind of sadness that didn't belong on a child's face, and he whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" He lowered his eyes. The one who was taken, the one who wasn't supposed to be. My blood ran cold. The kid from the wrong house. The kid my mother tried to sacrifice in my place. "What did he do to you?" I whispered. The boy shook his head slowly. It doesn't matter. It's done. He set down the sack. Its shape shifted, something inside pressing against the canvas. He stepped closer to me, eyes dull, voice hollow. He's not here for me anymore. My voice cracked. Then who? A deep voice filled the room, like thunder rolling through the floorboards. He is here for the child he was promised. I turned. St. Nicholas appeared at the end of the hallway, framed by that faint golden light. Only this time, I saw his face. I wished I hadn't. His skin looked like wax, melted in places. His eyes were white, unfocused, shifting like drifting snow. His mouth was thin and cracked, moving without sound until the words forced themselves out. He lifted a gloved hand and pointed at me. You? I scrambled backward, nearly slipping on the floor. No, please, my father, he'll come for me. St. Nicholas tilted his head in a slow, almost pitying gesture. Your father sold you long before your mother did. My throat tightened. He traded another child, St. Nicholas continued, stepping forward. Years before you were born, when he was young, when he needed a miracle. I shook my head violently. No, that's not true. My dad would never. He traded his firstborn, St. Nicholas said calmly. A son, a baby who lived only 2 days. My heart stopped. And when I came to collect, he continued, your father begged, he pleaded, he promised me another child in return. He pointed at me again. You! My stomach lurched. That's why he was afraid, St. Nicholas said. That's why he ran. That's why he avoided every tradition, every year, every December. My eyes filled with tears. No, he protected me. He warned me. He lied, the saint corrected softly. He locked doors I could enter. He hid you in houses I could see through. He tried again and again to delay what cannot be delayed. I felt myself shaking uncontrollably. Your father, St. Nicholas whispered, did not forget St. Nicholas Day. He stepped closer. He avoided me. His voice dropped to a cold whisper, because he knew I would one day knock for you. My chest felt like it was collapsing. The little boy beside me whispered, he won't stop until you go with him. I shook my head desperately. No, I can't. Please, there has to be something. St. Nicholas dropped the sack from his shoulder. It landed with a dull, heavy thud. He stretched out a hand. Come, child, a debt must be repaid. Then, a shout. The front door burst open. My father stumbled inside, gasping for breath, eyes wild with terror. Let him go! St. Nicholas turned his head, slowly, toward my dad. My father dropped to his knees instantly, not from choice, from fear, from power, from something ancient pressing down on him like invisible hands. St. Nicholas looked at him like one looks at a disobedient dog. You cannot bargain again. Dad's voice broke. Take me instead. My blood froze. St. Nicholas stepped aside, and the little boy, the one from the wrong house, spoke softly. He doesn't want you. St. Nicholas nodded once. I want the one you promised. He pointed at me. My dad looked at me, eyes full of pain, regret, shame. I'm sorry, he whispered. I thought I could outrun him. I thought I could fix it. I thought... His voice cracked. I'm sorry I failed you. St. Nicholas reached for me. The room dimmed. The shadows stretched. I felt myself slipping, pulled into cold, into darkness, into something ancient. And then, everything stopped. Completely. St. Nicholas froze. His hand inches from my face. The boy beside me stopped breathing. Even the air itself turned silent. Because behind us, from somewhere deep in the house, a new voice spoke. Soft, female, trembling, but powerful. I never broke the deal. I turned. My mother stood in the doorway, and she was holding something. A small, swaddled baby, breathing, alive. She lifted the child towards St. Nicholas. Her voice cracked. I give you what you were always owed. St. Nicholas lowered his hand. The lights flickered. The air loosened. He stepped away from me. He walked toward her, toward the child. My dad screamed, No, don't, you can't. But my mother didn't flinch. She whispered, This is the child he promised, not ours, the one your father traded long ago, the one he thought he could hide. My father collapsed, sobbing. St. Nicholas took the child in his arms with a gentleness that felt wrong. Ancient, final, the baby didn't cry. The boy from the wrong house whispered, "The exchange is complete." St. Nicholas turned to me one last time. "You are free." And just like that, he vanished. The boy vanished. The sack vanished. The house went silent. My father curled on the floor, shaking. My mother leaned against the wall, pale and shaking. And I just stood there, free, but not safe. Because now I know the truth. St. Nicholas doesn't forget. He waits. And every promise made to him is kept. And no matter how many centuries pass, no matter how many families try to trick him, someone always pays.